the fuck? What 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 the fuck?
Girl, I want you to treat me like there ain't no one left on this fucking earth. Talk your shit and put me up.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to an emergency broadcast of Stand on Business, episode 51. I say emergency because we weren't even supposed to be doing this topic. It just so happened that something decided to perk its head up in the news today that I just can't ignore. What are we doing at this point? So, of course, I'm talking about Shannon Sharpe. I'm talking about Shannon Sharpe because recently, let's take a moment here to just read the facts. Not the facts, what was reported. And what's being reported is that Hall of Fame tight end Shannon Sharpe was accused of rape by a woman under the pseudonym Jane Doe. Now, later on, we do get her actual name. In a $50 million civil lawsuit filed Sunday, obtained by the Post, the complaint filed in a Nevada state court alleges the ESPN personality committed assault, sexual assault, battery, sexual battery, and engaged in the intentional infliction of emotional distress during a rocky consensual relationship that lasted nearly 2 years with a woman more than 30 years younger than him. The plaintiff alleges Sharpe brutally sexually assaulted her several times at the end of 2024 and the beginning of 2025. I want to read this next line because it's important for the next article that we move to. The complaint accuses Sharpe of threatening to kill her multiple times, being manipulating and controlling, and repeatedly threatening to brutally choke and violently slap her. Should we read the rest of this? What I want to do is move into what Shannon recently dropped on X and on Instagram. Basically, any social media platform of his, he's just dropped this statement from his lawyer, Lanny J. Davis, that reads, starting off with her text, "I want you to put a dog collar around my neck and choke me with it while you're fucking me." This was Gabriella Zuniga, which is the name that's being reported. Actually, it's not being reported, right? This is the lawyer saying that this is the woman that Shannon Sharpe has allegedly done wrong to, raped, sexually assaulted, all of that. The woman that reportedly he was having a relationship with. And I also want to do this real quick while we read her messages. I want to pull up an image of Gabriella Zuniga, or at least the one that pops up of a woman. I can't find anybody else that would fit this description, so people are thinking that it's possibly, quite possibly, this young woman right here. So get this image in your head when you're thinking of Gabriella Zuniga and the woman that's texting. This is the one that people are thinking of right now. "I know you missed this big juicy ass, $25K for each cheek." This lawsuit filed by Gabriella Zuniga and orchestrated by her attorney, Tony Busby, that might be a name you're familiar with, is a blatant and cynical attempt to shake down Mr. Sharpe for millions of dollars. It is filled with lies, distortions, and misrepresentations, and it will not succeed. In her effort to extract a large financial settlement, Ms. Zuniga presented Mr. Sharpe with a secretly recorded video of a consensual sexual encounter. We believe the video has been heavily edited and taken entirely out of context, crafted to falsely portray a consensual act as non-consensual. Ms. Zuniga has refused to provide a copy of the full unedited version of the recording to Mr. Sharpe's legal team. To set the record straight, we are releasing several of Ms. Zuniga's own explicit text messages to Mr. Sharpe that clearly indicate the nature of their relationship was consensual and sexual in nature, and in many cases initiated by her with specific and graphic requests. Contrary to the allegations she makes in her lawsuit, consensual sex continued until January 2nd, 2025, the day after she asked for $25,000 per cheek, as quoted above from her text message to Mr. Sharpe. There are other examples of text from Ms. Zuniga. For example, "Only if you put that baby gravy in me, then I can do whatever I want to me." I'm assuming she meant then you can do whatever you want to me. Another text from Gabrielle Zuniga to Shannon Sharpe, November 23rd, 2023. "I want to put my tongue in your asshole and then marry you." That text was from her to Shannon, January 12th, 2024. Then there's "That's my daddy. Fuck, I want you to put a big black baby in me." That was sent to Shannon August 6, 2024. Then you've got "You better crave it because you're going to be stuck with it for life after you put a big black baby in me." That was sent to Shannon on August 11th. These messages are just a sampling of a broader pattern of graphic sexual communications initiated by Ms. Zuniga. The evidence paints a clear picture. This was a consensual adult relationship that included role-playing, sexual language, and fantasy scenarios explicitly requested by Ms. Zuniga. That was the main crux of everything that I wanted to pull up. So you got the initial lawsuit from Zuniga. Then you've got Shannon releasing text between him and Zuniga. And then you got this image of who we think is Zuniga. And then also, last but not least, how old is Shannon Sharpe? Because this also is going to go on with why I'm going what the fuck lately. How old is this man? This man is 56 years old. This man is 4 years away from being a 60-year-old black man. And that last part is so important because it ties directly into me going, what the fuck are you doing, Shannon? I want to start with this. This episode is not about debating who is legally right or who is legally wrong. However, I do want to say that there has been a lot of individuals who have been coming forward of the female background and laying claims at the feet of celebrity men. Now, I'm not the one that's going to go around and saying that people in power don't abuse that power, and I think that's on both sides. And I'm not saying that it doesn't lean more towards men because there are more men in power than there are women in power. That part is true. However, what I am saying is that there needs to be some accountability for these women who continuously lay these fucking claims at people's feet and are not being charged or held accountable. We just saw the case with the woman who, after years of a man basically losing his professional football career, coming on saying, I lied. I don't know what happened to her afterwards, but this shit can't keep going on. At some point, somebody needs to start going, okay, you can come forward. People who are being victimized should come forward. But if you are found to be lying, if you are found to be making shit up for monetary reasons in a court of law, not only should you have to pay back everything that was associated with the legal fees, but you should have to sit some time in prison. Let's get off of that because I don't want to talk about the legal things. It's so far out of my wheelhouse and it's so far out of what I care about right now. That'll be handled by people smarter and richer than me. What I am, also we should say that Tony Busby, wasn't he the same individual that went after Jay-Z and then had a woman that apparently said or came up with this claim that Jay-Z and Diddy and a known female had basically raped her or watched her get raped, and then they started deep diving into it, and it was like, it doesn't make sense the time period you're talking about, doesn't make sense the house that you're talking about. It was another woman who basically got found out to be lying. Again, I don't know what happened to her. I think Jay-Z did plan on countersuing or something like that, which again, he should. That woman should be held accountable for those lies. But also Busby, who put this shit together, who's being labeled as an ambulance chaser, or specifically to me, somebody who wants to take down powerful black men, is now again finding himself in the middle shortly after the Jay-Z thing of representing a woman who's claiming that Shannon Sharpe, who just became a rising star, who just became this bigger than life individual, is accused of doing this heinous crime against this young woman. So I look at this already with an asterisk because anything Busby is attached to, I don't believe this guy. All right. Now when I look at Shannon Sharpe, right, like to me personally, I love the rise. A lot of people from our community feel some type of way about some of the behaviors that Shannon displays, right? Whether it's how he dresses, how he talks, how he acts, especially when you go back to the Skip and Shannon days when, it seemed like at first before the whole persona of Unc came about, Shannon was an individual that could break down football, could really break down a lot of sports. He's a very highly intellectual individual, especially when it comes to sports. But that was just a man who was providing his experience to a sport and breaking things down in a way that was easily digestible for the person who maybe didn't play sports or just wanted a deeper dive into what was happening on the field. But then at some point, the Unc persona was put on him, and then you started seeing Shannon, not just in suits, but wearing do-rags, right? You started seeing Unc with the cigars. You started seeing Unc talking about call me Unc, right? Things that we weren't seeing before that had some people going like, you're doing a little Uncle Tom's. You're putting on this character because some white man in power, some executive is like, either hey, Shannon, this might be a fun idea. Maybe you could be a little bit more urban. Or you started doing it. They noticed that the numbers seemed to be going up with a certain demographic. And they were like, hey, maybe you could lean more into this whole Unc thing. Either way, people started going like, it's a little weird. This character that Shannon is playing that doesn't necessarily line up with the image that he's told us of the man that he is. But F it, we're going to let it rock. I personally, you know what I'm saying? I don't really too much care. If that's how you get your bread, we're in a world right now where, hey, get your money how you get your money. Take care of your family how you take care of your money. But from there, after that, we get podcast Shannon, right? We get Club Shay Shay. We get Nightcap. And he's just out of here. Especially when it came to that Cat Williams interview and how it not only became one of the biggest, most viewed videos of all time on YouTube, but spawned to me a lot of other black entertainers, celebrities, and former athletes starting their own thing and seeing if Shannon can do it, there's no telling what I could do, right? So they model a lot of his production, his sets. You know, I'm thinking of some of the bigger names in the game right now who have literally just taken what Shannon did with how they set up the interviews and bringing in celebrities and talking to them and really becoming more of like gossipers, right? Like they're bringing these influential acts in that you would think you would want two black individuals talking about movie careers or music careers or like what was it like to do this and that, but it's all gossipy. Like, oh, were you really beefing with this individual, or oh, were you really sleeping with this girl? All of them are trying to capture what Shannon had captured, and understandably so, right? Because they're being reported that Shannon, before this whole rape incident, was up for $100 million media contract, right? A lot of fucking money. Of course there are going to be copycats. Not mad at that. However, when you listen to Shannon speak, sometimes I get the opinion, and let's be clear, it's my opinion in listening to Shannon that he's an individual that, how do I put this? You know, when you watch NFL players and they're brought on these shows like a Shannon Sharpe show, right, or Pivot, right, they're asked, who was your influence? Who's it that you watch? And I watch these young tight ends come in and they'll say names like, Travis Kelce, Rob Gronkowski, Tony Gonzalez. But before them, you had Shannon Sharpe, right? And I'm sure there's more before that. Like, don't try and test my football knowledge right now. That's not what I'm here for. What I'm saying is that you hardly hear people talk about Shannon Sharpe. Now, Shannon Sharpe is a Hall of Fame football player. This is one of the big beefs that happened between him and Skip, right? Is that Skip didn't put respect on his name when talking to Shannon. Shannon is a Hall of Fame football player, right? And you watch his clips, he clearly had a personality, but this is before we had social media and all the things that would have maybe catapulted him into a different level of fame and notability, right? But he clearly had a personality, even when you watch the clip of him on the phone, on the sideline, talking about, like, don't worry, help is on the way. Bigger than life personality, somebody who, I don't know if he likes attention, but clearly was comfortable with the lights on him. I think Shannon never gets the respect from players or like the general populace that he feels he deserves. And he'll never say that. I don't think he walks around with like, yo, do you know who I am? But I do think that when he's in these rooms and people are talking about who the greatest was, there is a little bit of ego in that nobody really mentions his name and nobody really gives him that attention until this takeoff with the podcast. So I say that to say that to me, this is the first time that we're seeing Shannon in a spotlight that he feels like maybe he was always destined for, right? Or I should say this goes one of two ways. Either that or maybe he never liked that limelight, never wanted to be the focus of attention. And after he got a taste of being one of the biggest videos on YouTube, after getting a taste of supermodels and celebrities and influential people knowing his name and wanting to talk to him, he goes, I kind of like this. Because you can even tell in his new show with Nightcap, right? Like from the beginning to where it is now that his mannerisms have changed a little bit, right? He's a little bit shorter with Ocho. He not dominates the mic, but he talks in a way like he owns his space, which he's always done, but he's doing it in a more like I am that guy way. And again, I don't think there's anything wrong with this, but I'm leading to a point here, especially when we get to these text messages. And who these text messages are coming from, of an individual to me who I think seems to appear as, give me my flowers, give me my respect for who I am, especially now, especially with all of you copycats, especially when y'all see my numbers. I am that guy in this world of commentary or media, and also what comes with that, right? Because had I been given what I thought I deserved when I was in my 20s, well, then maybe I would have acted out in a way that I really wanted to act out. I would have been with the flyest to fly girls. I would have been at the flyest to fly parties. And I'm only bringing that up because go back and watch some of his interviews and the way he talks to these celebrities, right? He's interested in knowing, like, yo, what was going on at the room behind the room? And, you know, like, oh, what happened when you was with that beautiful woman? And, oh, I don't know, man. I don't know how I settled down. Like, how can you just pick just one? There's so many. And to me, that's somebody who's, like, now just entering the space of celebrityum that he may have always wanted and doesn't necessarily know how to maneuver in it, right? Because you're 55 going on 56, right? That's what we said he was? Or was he 56 going on 57? 56 going on 57, right? But now you're in a space where there are 20-year-old, beautiful, model-type women's paying attention to you. Like never before have you gotten this type of attention, even in the NFL, because, again, I don't see him getting the respect that he rightfully does deserve, right? Like, even when people talk about who's the better player, they usually talk about his brother Sterling, and then Shannon, was almost like sometimes you feel like they are like, because we couldn't give Sterling the proper due because his career was cut short. Like, we give some of that extra to Shannon, which again is not. I didn't watch football at the time. I don't know. From the opinion that I got, he seemed to be a dominant player and he deserved everything that he got. But what I'm saying is that he never seems to get the full respect from football that he is getting now from the podcast game. And so now when you're moving in these spaces, it's like all the things that, I would have wanted to do in my 20s, I'm now kind of doing in my 50s. And I say that because when he also talks about the women, and it almost seems like an obsession or fascination with, young, beautiful women. And I think there are a couple of interviews where he's talking to older individuals and he's like, what age you like him at, not what age you like him at, but like, how do you like your women, And he never really fully comes out and describes his ideal woman and what their background is or what their age range is. But this text, this chain, this woman that we're getting kind of, to me, solidifies some of the ideas that I've gotten about this man as I've watched him in how he talks. And again, taking into account this level of superstardom that he is now finding himself in and what comes with that, what kind of women come with that, and like how that might change how you move. So anyway, we had the first incident, right? When he did the whole accidental leak, right? The live stream of him busting down some girl and that's my Michelle. And, right after that, he's got the hymns or whatever commercial going off. We all know it was bullshit, right? Like, it wasn't no accidental. I don't care what that shit wasn't accidental, because how is it that you go from accidental to let's capitalize on this moment and start selling Get Hard pills? But we have that one incident come out, right? Then you have the kind of weird backlash of the community when he started wearing like the sweater and the tight pants, and he came out and he did the thing outside the car, and then people were like, oh, Shannon might be gay. And again, I don't understand why people care about who he's putting his dick in. That's his business. But with this in particular, this text and the things that are being exchanged, I'm starting to question the man we see and then the little nuggets of information that he drops that made me go like, which person is Shannon? Because although Lanny dropped this exchange between Shannon and this woman as proof that they had a consensual relationship, I think it kind of exposes more about Shannon than maybe he necessarily wanted. And they didn't even include what his text message, his responses back were, but the fact that he even continued talking to her after some of these things were said made me look at Shannon in a type of way, again, going, you are a 56-year-old man, like in a black community, right? You're an old head. You're a staple in the community. You're somebody that people would look to for advice in their own life when they're making a mistake or fucking up. Like, you're this person that's supposed to come down and be like, yo, don't do that, young player. Like, I'm telling you, don't have somebody talk to you that type of way. Or, hey, that red flag that's showing right there, pay attention to that. You doing things that don't make sense for your age unless you take into account that he's finally getting to express the things he wanted to express when he was a superstar in his or when he was a star in his 20s, but now he's a superstar in his 50s. So let's go back to these texts, right? So you can understand more of what I'm trying to say. The first text we get is, I want you to put a dog collar around my neck and choke me with it while you're fucking me. Okay, let's be clear here. Anybody that's getting up in arms about like, oh, Shannon, you a freak and you a dog, and hey, 99% of men is with this. If their girl is texting this, they like it. They in the back of, wherever they in the office like this with the tongue out. Because they already know they about to tear that ass up tonight. Men is fine with this. Nobody's tripping about a dog collar around no girl's neck. And then on the women's side, yo, in my experience, at least over half, that's being generous. I'm thinking it's more like 90% of women. 90% of women like being choked. I'm not saying that as a guy that immediately goes for the choke. In fact, it took me a little bit to get even comfortable with the choke, because I was always trying to figure out like, how much pressure do I apply? And I can remember, let's get a little personal. There was a time where I tried it. I was doing it wrong, right? I was putting too much pressure on the front, and she was actually choking, and she had to take my hand and go, no, the side. Get me on the side, you know what I'm saying? So that I'm not, it's the feeling of being choked without actually being choked. And I'm saying that to say that women love being choked. A lot of the women that I've been with enjoy being the choked. Even the women that you wouldn't think, the ones that present the church image, the ones that present like the good, clean, like I'm not fucking till the fourth date and you got to meet my parents or whatever, like being choked. So that's nothing, right? That's nothing right there. The next text, I know you missed this big juicy ass. Shannon's black. Brothers like ass. That's just what it is. But then $25K for each chic. Now, wait a minute. Hold up. Pause. Hold the fuck up. Shannon, are you paying for ass? Now, granted, when we go back to this picture of this woman, she's a beautiful woman. It's not, nothing crazy. It's nothing like you would, like I got to empty the bank account for. But she is an objectively beautiful woman. And again, Shannon Sharpe is 56 years old. But you still Shannon Sharpe. There are still plenty of women I would think out there that would give you some ass that look as good or better than her and are not charging you $25,000 for cheek. Now, granted, this could be tongue-in-cheek if this were the only text that we got referencing what it is she's really after, but it's not. There's more later on that makes me go like, no, she really kind of meant it. Give me some money for this ass. And also, there's something about celebrities, and I don't know if this is the same thing for white celebrities as well. Maybe their stuff doesn't get leaked as quickly as black celebrities, but why is it that so many influential, rich individuals in our community seem to get to a certain level where they've got bank and they're paying for it all the damn time? Now, y'all gonna have to educate me on what happens when you get to a certain level of stardom that every woman that you seem to interact with has to get a check. Especially in the rap community. It doesn't make sense to me. They be with these beautiful women and then you find out like, yeah, every time we link up it's 10 racks off like just off rip. We ain't even did anything yet. Just to hang out. Here's 10 right here, baby. We in the lyrics you're talking about like, yo, to hang out with her you gotta spend $50K. Well, how is that a flex? Why would I want to be with a woman that just to see her, I got to spend $50,000? That don't even make no fucking sense. I'm broke hanging out with beautiful women and I ain't spending $50,000. Like it doesn't, I'm not trying to understand what happens when you get to a certain level of stardom that money becomes a prerequisite for sleeping with a woman that used to be called a prostitute or a hoe. And I'm not mad at that. Like that's how you get your bag, get your bag. I'm a big supporter of people doing OnlyFans and Pornhub and whatever the hell else you want to do to get your bag. I just don't understand why influential, powerful men are paying for it like this. Like they are paying for women that I would think that a lot of women would just want to be with you if you get a good personality. If you make them laugh. I always told people who can make people laugh are going to be in there 9 times out of 10 more than the guy who's just a good looking dude and ain't got no talk. So him paying $25K, look, that's his business. If that's what he's doing, that's what he's doing. But I'm already looking at the type of woman like, this is the one you get caught up with. And this is somebody who it's been reported that Shannon doesn't even like being in elevators with women, right? Like if an elevator pulled up when he was working at with Skip Bayless and him, and there was a woman in the elevator, he would wait for the next elevator, which I can understand, right? Especially when you look around and you see all these accusations being flying around. Then we find out what the environment was like at that network, right? We were finding out that, you know, Skip was on some BS time. Some of the executives were on some BS time. Joy might have been on some BS time. Like everybody was already doing some foul-ish. So I can understand Shannon going like, nah, I'm not being alone in no elevator with no woman because you're not about to trap me with no BS. But then to go from that to now you paying $25 a cheek to a woman, like that's worse than being in an elevator with 20 women that are all scantily dressed and daring you to look at them. Like, what are you doing? Let's move on to the next text message, right? Because it gets even juicier and weirder to me, and again reveals more about Shannon or solidifies some things that I've thought about Shannon from these texts. Only if you put that baby gravy in me, then you can do whatever I want to. Then I can do whatever I want to me. Again, I think she's saying, then you can do whatever you want to me. Let's break down this lyric right here, right? This line. Because clearly Shannon at some point must have said something along the lines, you gonna let me do whatever I want to you, right? Oh, Michelle, you gonna let me bend you over however I want? You gonna talk dirty? You gonna do something, or you gonna allow me to do something that the rest of the world don't really need to know because I'm not gonna show that text. And then her response is, if you put that baby gravy in me, if you don't know what that is, that's that juice inside the nutsack. That's that baby making ingredient right there. That's the stuff that makes the world go round or your girl grin with the mayo. Then you can do whatever you want to me. So you're already paying $25K, or if this is a joke, not a joke, but you're paying something. This is the type of woman, if she's making that type of joke, you paying something to hang out with her. Now she's saying that the only way that you can do something to me sexually is that you put that baby gravy in me. Now, it's being reported that she's 30 years younger than this man. This man is 56. Let's subtract. Let's do a little basic math. 46, 36, 26. Somewhere around her mid-20s. And she wants a 56-year-old man to put a baby in her. Now, I don't think we need to be Sherlock Holmes. All we need to know is that she's 26 around and he's 56. And she's saying, yeah, you can sexually do whatever you want to do, old man, if you put a baby in me. Now, why the hell would a young woman want somebody who's destined to have $100 million media contract to put a baby in her? Shannon, who we just said was smart enough to go, I'm not going in an elevator with a woman by my damn self, is now with a woman that is saying, keep screwing me, but first, I want you to take that rubber off and put a baby in me. You're going to put yourself in this situation. This is the type of woman you want to hang out with. Okay, let's move a little bit further. I want to put my tongue in your asshole and then marry you. What the hell kind of sexy talk is that? You went from super sexy. Hey, if you don't like stuff in your ass, that's your business. If you do like stuff in your ass, that's your business. I'm not mad if Shannon wants a tongue in his ass, so and she's a pretty girl. Yo, that's the type of power that he might get off of. What I am kind of concerned about is that you would let a woman say that she wants to put a tongue in your ass in one hand and then talk about a business deal in the other hand. Again, aren't you an individual who's careful about his money, doesn't want to settle down with a woman, and she is talking about, I'm going to do this freaky thing to you, but hey, by the way, you're going to put a ring on this. Is this your wife? Or not even your wife. I'm sorry. Is this your girl or just a girl? Because that's what I'm getting confused, right? They said it's a 2-year consensual relationship. Is that consensual as in when I see you and I put something on your books? I make sure that you dress in what you like. I'm buying the purses that you like. Or is this we working towards something so you're the only one that I'm seeing? Because why the hell else would you go from freaky to marry you? Because if you're not taking this woman seriously, at this point, you got to start thinking about cutting ties. You got to start thinking about moving on to something else, because clearly she is after something. I've already told you that she wants baby gravy. So she's already showed you that if feasible and if possible, I'm going to wrap my legs around you when you're in the middle of a good nut, and I'm going to make sure I get that because this is what I'm really after. She's also told you that I'll do some freaky stuff to you, but hey, in the back of your mind, you better know that this is coming with a circular thing on my finger at some point, right? Like, I'm already giving you all the signs that if you're not taking me serious, leave me the hell alone. Put me back at whatever Toys R Us you found me at. You know what I'm saying? Let's keep moving on. That's my daddy. Fuck, I want you to put a big black baby in me. This is where I go, what the fuck? What are we doing at this point? Shannon, you are a 56-year-old black man who grew up in the South. You know what fetishization of a black man looks like. You know what subtle racism looks like. I don't know what this woman is, right? I've sent this picture to a couple of people and be like, yo, break down for me. Is she white with a tan? She half white mixed with something? Like, what the fuck is she? But I know this much. No person who is actually attracted to black men says, put a big black baby in me. This is a certain category on Pornhub or whatever freak porn site that you like, where men like to be in the corner, and they usually married to a white woman. They like to be in the corner. They like to watch a big black man tear a woman down. This is where you would find this type of language at. Nowhere else. I've never actually taken a woman that I've taken serious. I've never dated a woman that I've taken serious that has said anything even remotely close to put a big black baby in me. This makes me think about the type of women. I have been with this type of women, right? And this comes from naivety. This comes from like 19, early 20s when you're messing around, and usually white women. We're gonna call it like it is. It's usually the white women that I find say stuff like this. That'll be like, "Ooh, put that big black dick in me," right? Or something that has to do with your color. Sex talk involves you doing something with black baby, black dick, black energy, whatever. The word black is coming out that person's mouth, and it's not because that person likes you. It's because you are a fetish to that person. Now, young people don't know this. They're at an age where they're just trying to hump whatever they can hump. So if you're giving it, they're taking it. When you get older, though, you stop messing around with those type of people because you realize that this is about them fulfilling some kind of twisted fantasy in their head. They don't care about you as a person. You are literally check marking off a box. When people make jokes about individuals that grow up with like, I don't know, like the overzealous dad, or the dad that hates a certain type of race, and then that girl kind of rebels and she's like, oh, pissing off daddy. This is what that type of behavior is right here. This is, I'm making daddy mad because daddy didn't give me enough love. He didn't give me enough money. He didn't give me attention. So I'm going to get back at daddy and I'm going to sleep with the people that he hates. Not because I'm attracted to those type of people, but because it's going to hurt daddy. I'm getting some kind of other fulfillment from this. This in particular is probably somebody who maybe doesn't really like black people like that, or if they do like black people, they probably like somebody a little bit younger, a little bit more. I mean, Shannon Sharpe is in great shape, but he's 56-year-old in great shape. She likes people with money. At the end of the day, what she sees is green, though using the term big black to me is clear that I personally don't think she likes black men at all. And Shannon, as a 56-year-old man, should know what you are being used for, unless this is the type of ish that you are into, because there are black men out there who get off of the fantasy of taking down women that are into, you know, almost, here's the real underlying creepiness about it. These women can sometimes, I think, have a fear of black men, right? And that's where the fetish comes in that I want to be careful how I say this, right? Because this can get to a real kind of weird gray area, but like, I'm playing with danger with this type of person, going back to the slave and the buck breaking days of, you know, them using a big black man in sexual intercourse with white women, and what the stigma of that was and the dangers of that was, and what would ultimately end up happening to the black person in that sexual relationship. And maybe some of that got passed down or some of that's still hardwired in certain individuals. But when you're using that type of language, this to me is somebody who's like, I like playing with the fear of being with a black man. And whether it's because I think that they're dangerous or, oh, what's going to happen if my family finds out or my friends find out, there's an element of like, I'm messing around with something like a wild animal. And again, that's why to me, it's gross. It's disgusting. Like somebody were to talk to me at this age now, at 31, and talk to me like this, and we're in the middle of fucking, that's over with. We're done. And you're getting deleted off my phone, because at the end of the day, this is also the type of person that push comes to shove. If they get mad at you, they're looking to bury you. They get mad at you, you end up like Jonathan Majors. I'm going to court and I'm leaking. I'm saying that you sexually assaulted me, you raped me, you abused me, all types of things, because I don't even look at you as a human, right? That emotional shit, that was never really in consideration. I looked at you as an animal to be tamed, not even tamed, but to be played with. And when you cross me, I'm going to do what wild animals should be done, what should be done to wild animals, and get you put down. That's why it's dangerous to play with these type of people. But then to make it worse is that this happened in, let's see, where we go? January 12, 24, I think that's when she says the first time. And then August 6, 2024, that means that Shannon saw that message, got another one saying, you better crave it because you're going to be stuck with it for life after you put a big black baby in me. She doubles down with the same exact sentence in the same exact order. She says it again. And he at 50 fucking 6 doesn't go, I should probably drop this dumbass. Like, what? I'm confused and I'm going, what the fuck? Because you have, up to this point, moved in a strategic manner. We haven't heard no controversies come out about you. Even with the Joy Taylor thing that came out, your name was not mentioned in a negative light. You seem to have moved in a way that would protect yourself and your brand and always put you in a respectable light. Minus the whole Michelle thing, which again to me was just a rollout. I don't care what nobody says. That shit was fake. It was way too. Oh, Michelle. Oh, I forgot I know how to live stream. You ain't never done that before. You've never accidentally live streamed you fucking a girl talking about oh Michelle until you got a podcast that it was going crazy, but you need to keep the momentum up. But anyway, you've moved in a strategic way that has protected yourself up until now. Now you're going to mess with this 26-year-old woman who's told you to put a baby in me, who's told you put the ring on me, who's now said put a big black baby in me, and then doubles down on it, and you still going back over to have her tongue in your asshole? What kind of tongue is that? That makes no sense to me. This is the dumbest shit I've ever heard. And this is what I'm saying. I don't care about the legal part. I don't care about what they go to court to find out that she's lying or she's telling the truth or he didn't do this. What I care about is why is Shannon finding himself in a situation like this? How the hell does this even happen to an individual like this? Shit, you were an older black man who grew up in the South. You know what the fuck this is. But you still, oh my God. All right. So she doubles down on it, and then she also makes reference to wanting to be stuck with him for life. She doesn't even say it in a romantic or sexual way. You're going to be stuck with it for life. To me, again, this is dirty. The text is she can't even hide who she is. She's telling you from rip, I am here for the money. You know this because I've mentioned baby gravy, not let's make a baby. I've mentioned marry, but it's I'm going to put my tongue in your asshole, but first you're going to marry me. And now you're going to be stuck with me for life. What is romantic about that? What it says I love you about that? Even hell, the nasty relationship with Bill Belichick and his 24-year-old, you ain't never seen no text drop of her saying, yo, put that big white baby in me. Let's remove Shannon from the situation. If this was just a brother in the neighborhood, right, that you just knew, and he showed you these text messages, what would you say? What would you say to this individual? Because I know if you was my boy, well, you wouldn't be my boy at 56 years old, right? Like you're a mentor or something. There's a reason I'm hanging around with the 56-year-old. But if you come around me and you show me text messages from a girl that's 26 and it's saying, put that big black baby in me, I'm telling you that you have insecurities. You don't love yourself. You do not enjoy being black. Now, that's a bit of a stretch. I'm not saying about Shannon because clearly like he's a part of the black community. People seem to love him. Like, I don't know the man. But what I'm saying is that if somebody was just that I just knew in my circle showed me this, and then the person doubled down. Like the first time I'm already telling you, like, what are you doing messing with a girl like this? Like, you're not dumb. You know what this is about. We're not 12, not 19. We're not 21 no more. Why would you keep messing with a woman that is clearly obsessed with your skin color more than who you are as a person, who's getting off by the fact that you are black and tearing her ass up, not that you are a lover or somebody she cares about tearing her ass up? Why are you in this situation? Because I guarantee you in the long run, this is not going to end well for you. So when I look at Shannon in this situation, again, based off everything that we've seen prior, it's like some questions that I was wondering when I watch him speak and how he acts, it just kind of were answered for me. And it makes me go like, I think this is an individual that wanted the spotlight or the fame or the superstardom, or if he didn't, once he got a taste of it, he loves it. And now you're in this room, you're in this space where there are a lot of things being thrown at you, things that are alluring, things that are, you're like, I don't even, how do I say this? I don't know how to control myself, because the NFL has always been the NFL, right? There's always been groupies and women around the NFL players, hell, college, high school. They've always had a good time. You never had a shortage of women, but there's a difference to, I'm a player in the NFL. Even if you're a good player that's a Hall of Fame worthy, there's offensive tackles that are in the Hall of Fame, right? They're still not getting the type of attention that somebody like Patrick Mahomes could be getting, or Travis Kelce gets. You're getting to a level now of fame on the outside that is up there on those A-list of individuals. When you walk into a room, all eyes on you, and all young women, all eyes on your bag, and they are throwing themselves at you, and you are lapping it up. So you're putting yourself in dangerous situations, like messing around with women who are intrigued by your money and intrigued with the danger of being with a black person, and probably also, let's be real, intrigued with the idea of you being older and the danger that comes with it, because that person is probably a little screw loose, or if not screw loose, strategically thinking, I know how to get you up off your bag. I know how you are going to elevate me in my lifestyle. Why would you mess with a person like that? I wonder if this is a case of somebody that is being thrust into a world of celebrityum, of stardom at a later stage of life, and maneuvering in a way that should have been handled when you were 20. And I'm not talking about just this, though these texts are wild. Like I said, they expose more about Shannon than they do about the girl to me, but also the whole Michelle thing and that leaking. Like the steps that are coming out of lately Shannon's camp is just, it's blowing my mind. But also I hope that this isn't, I think in the long run, it should work out in Shannon's favor, right? Because clearly this is a woman that's chasing a bag, right? And I'm hoping that this is another thing that's just kind of thrown in the wind and we move on and we continue to get great content from Shannon, because I am so sick of individuals trying to tear down black individuals getting their bag, getting their money. It seems to be just a regular occurrence that there's always somebody new. Shannon just got on the scene and already the bullshit's coming out, right? Like let's stop this. Let's stop trying to tear down black people and like, hey, he did this to me, and oh, he did that, and oh, he's a terrorist. Look, Hollywood, Hollyweird, entertainment, accounting, whatever. Anywhere there's power, there's some nasty ish going on. And not all of it is on the up and up, and the first story that comes out is not necessarily the truth. So let's stop making it like, oh, it's only the black people that are doing this ish. I'm tired of seeing so many black individuals, and if you're doing wrong, get held accountable. But like, let's stop with all the black ones being torn down, all right? Let's start making it more equal playing field. Let me start seeing some Native Americans that are doing bad. Let me start seeing some Asians that are doing bad. Hey, whites been up there for a minute. Let me start seeing some whites doing some bad, right? Y'all can't just keep going. Well, we gave you Harvey Weinstein. No. But a lot more powerful individuals over there, too, that we need to talk about as well. That's another conversation. Anyway, thank you all for watching. This is another episode of Stand On Business. I don't think this one is releasing on Sunday, so this is probably a Tuesday one. It's earlier than it should be. But thank y'all for rocking with me, watching this. I look forward to seeing you on another episode. Till then,